Oh, sorry. Where are my manners? My name is Vox Trillium, Chief Historical Adjustment Officer for the Galactic Concordance. My job? Well, until recently, it was quite simple. Find problematic species, adjust their historical records, and watch them collapse into beautiful, manageable chaos. But Vox, I hear you ask, why would anyone want to do that? Because, my dear imaginary audience, history is power. Change what a species believes about their past, and you change their future. It's conquest without a single shot fired. Much cleaner than our previous approach, which involved far too many explosions and far too much paperwork. For 6,000 stellar cycles, I have perfected this art. The Juvarian lizard people? They now believe they evolved from sea cucumbers instead of apex predators. Harmless vegetarians, the lot of them. The mighty Gorgolax warriors? Convinced they were historically pacifists who only picked up weapons as a last resort. Haven't invaded anyone in centuries. But humans? Those pink, squishy bipeds from that utterly unremarkable blue-green planet. They have been a persistent pain in my posterior appendage. Historical Adjustment Team report, I barked into the communication device on my wrist. The holographic display flickered to life, showing my three subordinates, Zrin, Quilop, and Daxandra. Status update on Operation Earth Erasure? Zrin, my data specialist, cleared his throat or whatever passes for a throat in his gelatinous form. Sir, we have successfully infiltrated 92% of their digital historical archives. The subtle contradictions we have introduced are spreading nicely through their information networks. Excellent. Quilop. Quilop adjusted her sensory stalks nervously. The misinformation campaign is progressing, but there's a problem, sir. I felt my outer membrane tighten with annoyance. What kind of problem? They are fact-checking, sir. Not all of them, but enough. They are comparing sources, questioning inconsistencies. Some have even started dedicated archives to preserve original documents. Ridiculous. No species has ever resisted historical manipulation this effectively. Daxandra, please tell me you have better news regarding their educational systems? Daxandra, my infiltration expert, straightened her exoskeleton. Mixed results, sir. We have successfully altered curriculum in several regions, but in others there's significant resistance. Teachers are encouraging critical thinking. Can you believe that? And parents are forming groups to review educational materials. I slammed my appendage against the console. Unacceptable. This should be simple. We have done this to 18,000 species across 3 galactic arms. There's more, sir, Zrin added hesitantly. They have these historians, professional truth-seekers who dedicate their lives to accurate documentation of past events. All species have historians, I scoffed. Not like these, Quilop interjected. They argue with each other constantly, challenging methodologies, questioning sources, demanding evidence. It's like they enjoy the debate? I paced the command deck of our cloaked ship, orbiting that troublesome planet. Fine. If subtle won't work, we will escalate. Prepare the temporal disruption device. My team exchanged nervous glances. Sir, Daxandra ventured, the TDD has never been field tested. The risk of chronological backlash is. I'm well aware of the risks. But these humans leave us no choice. We will create a temporal bubble around their planet and accelerate their timeline. They will experience decades in what feels like days to them. Social structures will collapse under the strain of rapid change. Historical continuity will fracture. They will be too disoriented to maintain any coherent narrative of their past. And then? Zrin asked. I smiled, revealing my rows of sensory filaments. And then we step in as saviors, offering the true history we have crafted for them. They will accept it gratefully, becoming the docile, controllable species they should have been from the start. The plan was beautiful in its elegance. So why did I feel a strange, uncomfortable sensation in my digestion sac? 3 rotations later, we deployed the TDD. The device hummed with ominous energy as it established a chronometric field around Earth. From our observation deck, we watched with scientific detachment as the blue-green world became enveloped in a shimmering temporal distortion. Time acceleration beginning, Zrin announced. Their experience of time should now be proceeding at approximately 47 times normal rate. Perfect, I purred. Let's monitor their communications networks. I want to savor their confusion. But the confusion never came. Instead, we witnessed something unprecedented. Sir? Quillup's voice trembled. They are adapting. Impossible, I snapped. No species can adapt to temporal acceleration. Yet the evidence streamed across our monitors. Rather than falling into chaos, human societies were reorganizing at remarkable speed. New systems emerged to handle the rapid passage of time. Digital frameworks evolved to preserve their history across the time distortion. They are calling it the quickening, Daxandra reported, monitoring their communications. They think it's a natural phenomenon. And instead of panicking, they are documenting everything meticulously, creating time-stamped archives, forming emergency historical preservation committees. This cannot be happening, I hissed. But it was. And worse was to come. A proximity alarm blared through our command center. Sir, Zrin exclaimed. Multiple objects approaching our position. Impossible. Our cloaking technology is impenetrable. Apparently not to them, Quillup muttered, earning my fiercest glare. The view screen showed dozens of primitive spacecraft surrounding our vessel. Primitive, yes, but numerous, and each bristling with surprisingly advanced weaponry. My communication console chimed. They are hailing us, Daxandra announced, surprise evident in her vibration patterns. How? Our communication frequencies should be unknown to them. They have been studying us, sir. For quite some time, it seems. With great reluctance, I authorized the connection. A human face appeared on our main view screen, a female with dark skin and striking eyes that seemed to pierce right through my protective membranes. This is Admiral Tessa Morgan of the United Earth Defense Force, she announced without preamble. We know who you are and what you are attempting. The temporal field has been neutralized. Your historical manipulation efforts have been documented and countered. You have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. I tried to regain my composure. My dear Admiral, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. Save it, Vox Trillium, she interrupted, and I felt my central pump organ skip a cycle at her knowledge of my name. We have been aware of your operations for years. Did you think we wouldn't notice subtle changes to our historical records? That we wouldn't trace the sources? That we wouldn't develop countermeasures? But how? I stammered, professionalism abandoned. For the first time, she smiled. It wasn't reassuring, because we have seen this before. Throughout our history, powerful entities have tried to rewrite our narrative. Conquerors, dictators, propagandists. We have learned to recognize the signs. We have developed cultural antibodies against historical revision. All species have propaganda, I argued weakly. True, but not all species have developed such a strong immune response to it. You see, Vox, attempting to manipulate our history was your first mistake. Your second was assuming we wouldn't fight back. A new alarm sounded. Sir, Zrin cried out. Our database. It's being downloaded? I whirled toward our security console in horror. Somehow, while we were focused on the human fleet, they had penetrated our information systems. What's happening? I demanded. They have accessed the Concordance archives, Daxandra explained, her exoskeleton pale with shock. They are taking everything, our complete records of historical adjustments across the galaxy. Admiral Morgan's expression remained calm. Consider this data a down payment on galactic restoration. We will be releasing your records of historical manipulation to every species you have deceived. They deserve to know their true past. You can't, I gasped. The galactic order will collapse, perhaps, or perhaps something better will emerge. Something built on truth rather than convenient lies. Another alarm blared. Sir, Quillup reported. Additional human vessels have been detected near our outposts in 7 sectors. They are broadcasting our historical manipulation data on all frequencies. I slumped into my command chair. 18,000 years of careful work, undone by hairless apes in the span of a few rotations. The concordance would collapse. The species we'd manipulated would rise up. And it was all because I'd underestimated these humans. You don't understand what you are doing. I tried one last time. Some species need their histories managed. The Vrex horde would resume their genocidal campaigns if they knew their true warrior heritage. The Pleiadian collective would revert to their planet-harvesting ways. Morgan's expression hardened. Then we will deal with those problems as they arise. But we will do it honestly, not through manipulation and lies. History isn't yours to rewrite, Vox. It belongs to those who lived it. What happens now? I asked, defeat evident in my voice modulation. Now? You and your crew will be escorted to Earth for a full accounting of your actions. You will answer questions from our historians, and believe me, they have many. You will provide details on every species whose history you have altered. And then representatives from those species will decide your fate. As our ship was surrounded by the human fleet, I turned to my stunned crew. I don't understand, I said quietly. How did a single primitive species defeat the most sophisticated historical adjustment operation in galactic history? Daxandra, always the most perceptive of my team, offered a thoughtful click of her mandibles. Perhaps because humans don't just study history, sir. They argue about it. They question it. They revise their understanding when new evidence emerges. Their relationship with their past isn't static, it's alive. As we were escorted toward Earth, I gazed at the blue-green planet with new respect and trepidation. These humans hadn't just protected their history. They'd seized control of the narrative, not just their own, but potentially that of the entire galaxy. And somewhere deep in my consciousness, a disturbing thought formed. Perhaps the true danger was never what humans might become if left unchecked. Perhaps the true danger was what the rest of us had become under the Concordance's guidance. As our ship descended toward Earth, I couldn't help but wonder, when the historical records of this incident were written, how would I be portrayed? As the villain? Almost certainly. But would they understand that I truly believed I was creating a more stable galaxy? Probably not. History, as these humans had taught me, is rarely kind to those who try to erase it. And as the clouds of Earth parted to reveal sprawling human cities below, I had the distinct feeling that the real story for me, for humanity, for the galaxy was just beginning. Prisons, I have discovered, are remarkably similar across the galaxy. The human facility, where they have housed me, what they call a diplomatic detention center, is every bit as depressing as the containment units we used for particularly troublesome species back in the glory days of the Concordance. Oh, did I mention the Galactic Concordance has effectively collapsed? Turns out when 18,000 species simultaneously discover they have been lied to about their own histories for millennia, diplomatic relations get a bit tense. "Comfortable, Vox?" Admiral Morgan asked, entering my cell without knocking. Rude, but I suppose conquering aliens can't be picky about etiquette. "Charming accommodations," I replied, gesturing at the sparse room with its single bed and peculiar toilet device. Though I must say, the gravity settings are doing nothing for my dorsal ridges. She smiled, that unsettling smile again. "We have adjusted the atmospheric composition and radiation levels to match your homeworld. Consider yourself lucky your subordinates are sharing quarters." How thoughtful. "And what happens now? Public execution? Some primitive ritual of revenge?" Morgan took a seat opposite me. "Actually, we are going to put you to work." I blinked my tertiary eyelids in confusion. "I beg your pardon?" "Nobody knows more about the damage you have done than you do. The species you have manipulated, the histories you have altered, the potential conflicts that might erupt when certain aggressive species rediscover their true natures. So I'm to be your consultant?" I couldn't keep the incredulity from my voice. "Something like that." She leaned forward. The Intergalactic Historical Reconciliation Committee meets tomorrow. Representatives from 37 species will be present. You will answer their questions, help them understand what was taken from them. And if I refuse, then you will be turned over to the Rex Horde. They are particularly eager to speak with you after learning you transformed their warrior culture into a society of passive agrarians. My membranes paled involuntarily. You wouldn't try me. She stood. The first session begins at 0800 hours. I suggest you prepare yourself, Vox. It's going to be a long day. After she left, I sat in silence, contemplating my circumstances. How had it come to this? My 6,000 years of service to galactic stability, reduced to playing informant for a species that barely understood interstellar travel a century ago. The next morning I was escorted to a vast auditorium within what the humans called the United Nations. Representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber, their angry murmurs creating a cacophony that assaulted my auditory receptors. "Silence, please," called out a tall, pale human male from the central podium. "I'm Dr. Lucas Bennett, Earth's representative to the Intergalactic Historical Reconciliation Committee. We gathered today to begin the process of understanding the full scope of the Concordance's historical manipulation." His gaze found me, sitting under guard at a small table. Vox Trillium will provide testimony regarding specific alterations made to each species' historical record. Before we begin, does the representative from the former Galactic Concordance wish to make a statement? Former. The word stung more than I expected. I rose slowly, feeling the weight of thousands of eyes upon me. I maintain that our actions were undertaken with the best interests of galactic stability in mind. Some species simply cannot handle certain truths about their past. A roar of outrage drowned out my words. A massive Rex warrior lunged to his feet, his scaled skin flushed crimson with rage. "You stole our identity," he bellowed. "My people believed for 15 generations that we evolved from peaceful gatherers. You transformed us from the greatest warriors in the Orion spiral into farmers and philosophers. And you were better for it," I shot back, abandoning diplomacy. "Before our intervention, the Rex Horde destroyed 37 civilizations. You harvested populated worlds for resources without a second thought. That was our choice to make." The Rex countered. "Not yours." Dr. Bennett banged a gavel. "Order. We are here to establish facts, not debate the ethics of historical manipulation. That discussion will come later." The proceedings that followed were excruciating. Species after species demanded explanations for specific alterations. The Meridian Collective learned they hadn't evolved naturally into their current crystalline form. They'd been a shape-shifting species before concordance manipulation convinced them to maintain fixed forms. The Pleiadian Unity discovered their religious texts had been subtly altered to remove references to their divine right to planetary conquest. The hours turned into days. Days into weeks. I found myself the reluctant professor of a galaxy-wide history lesson, explaining the specifics of each manipulation while trying unsuccessfully to justify our actions. It was during the third week that things took an unexpected turn. "The committee calls Representative Nala Shuresh of Earth," Dr. Bennett announced. A human female with copper skin and striking white hair approached the podium. "Esteemed delegates, I come before you not as an accuser, but with a proposal. For weeks, we have catalogued the damage done by the Concordance. Now we must address a more urgent question: what happens next?" The chamber fell silent. Many species are rediscovering their true histories, some violent, some noble, some complex mixtures of both. The potential for conflict is enormous. Already, the Rex Horde has remilitarized 3 previously peaceful systems. The Pleiadian Unity has made territorial claims against their neighbors. Murmurs of concern rippled through the audience. Humanity proposes the establishment of a new interspecies organization, the Galactic Historical Truth Commission. Unlike the Concordance, which sought to control through manipulation, this commission would promote historical accuracy and reconciliation. My interest peaked despite myself. And what would this commission do exactly? Suresh turned her penetrating gaze to me. First, it would complete the work of restoring accurate historical records to all affected species. Second, it would establish protocols to prevent future manipulation. And third, she paused meaningfully. It would create forums for species to confront difficult truths about their past without resorting to violence. A noble sentiment, scoffed the Vrek's representative. But some truths demand action. My people were warriors. We have remembered our heritage, and we will reclaim our glory. At what cost? Suresh challenged. More planetary genocide? More civilizations reduced to ash? Is that truly the heritage you wish to honor? The Vrex fell silent, his reptilian features troubled. Every species here has darkness in their past, Suresh continued. Humanity is no exception. We have committed atrocities against our own kind throughout our history. But we have also learned to acknowledge those crimes without repeating them, to remember without reenacting. Dr. Bennett cleared his throat. The proposal will be distributed to all delegations for consideration. We will reconvene tomorrow for discussion. As guards escorted me back to my cell, Daxandra fell into step beside me, her mandibles clicking nervously. "What do you make of this commission idea?" she whispered. "Yeah, it won't work," I replied automatically. You can't give species back their true histories and expect them not to act on ancient grudges and violent impulses. But what if the humans are right? What if confronting the past honestly is better than manipulating it? I shot her a withering look. 6,000 years of concordance experience says otherwise. And yet, she mused, in just a few generations, humans developed resistance to historical manipulation that no other species managed in millennia. Perhaps there's something to their approach. Her words haunted me through the sleepless night cycle. Had I been wrong? Was the Concordance's entire philosophy fundamentally flawed? The thought was too disturbing to contemplate. The next day, the chamber was even more crowded as species debated the commission proposal. Arguments raged across ideological and biological divides. The Vrex horde and several other warrior cultures opposed any constraints on their newly remembered heritage. The Pleiadian unity insisted on reparations for resources they might have acquired if not for Concordance interference. Amid the chaos, Admiral Morgan slipped into the seat beside me. "Quite the mess you have created," she observed dryly. "That I have created? You humans were the ones who decided to upend the galactic order by exposing our operation." "The galactic order was built on lies," she countered. "It was bound to collapse eventually." "And what comes next? Interspecies war? Planetary destruction? Was that worth your precious truth?" Morgan studied me thoughtfully. "You know, for someone who spent millennia studying other species' histories, you seem to have learned remarkably little from them." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means that societies don't grow by burying their pasts. They grow by confronting them." She gestured toward the debating delegates. "Yes, this is messy. Yes, it's dangerous. But it's also necessary." "You are naive," I scoffed. "Perhaps. But we are willing to take responsibility for the consequences of our actions." "Are you?" Before I could respond, a commotion erupted at the chamber entrance. A delegation of Vrex warriors marched in, led by their war master Gracchus. "The Vrex horde rejects this commission proposal," Gracchus announced, his voice thundering through the hall. "We will not be lectured about our heritage by primitives and pacifists. We are reclaiming our destiny as conquerors." Dr. Bennett attempted to restore order, but Gracchus continued. "We have activated our war fleets. The systems of the Antaran expanse will once again acknowledge Vrex dominion. Any who oppose us will be destroyed." The chamber erupted in pandemonium. Species with historical grievances against the Vrex shouted threats. Others pleaded for calm. Through it all, I felt a growing sense of vindication. See, this is exactly why we manipulated their histories in the first place. Then, unexpectedly, Representative Suresh approached Gracchus. The human female looked tiny beside the massive reptilian warrior, yet she showed no fear. "War Master Gracchus," she said, her voice somehow cutting through the chaos. Before you commit your people to war, I ask you to consider one question. Speak human, though it will change nothing. In the history that was hidden from you, the Vreks conquered many worlds through force. But in the history you actually lived the generations of peace that the Concordance engineered, did your people suffer? Were you unhappy as farmers and philosophers instead of warriors? Gracchus blinked, clearly unprepared for the question. The truth of our heritage was stolen, he said, but with less conviction. Yes, it was, Suresh agreed. And that was wrong. But now you have a choice that your ancestors never had. You can knowingly choose what kind of species you want to be going forward. Will you be defined by a past you didn't live, or by the future you create? The chamber fell silent as the Vreks War Master visibly struggled with the question. Our warrior heritage is our birthright, he finally said. No one disputes that, Suresh replied. The question is whether bloodshed is the only way to honor it. Something remarkable happened then. A younger Vreks stepped forward, one I recognized as a junior officer from their delegation. War Master, he said, I have studied the uncensored histories provided by the humans. Yes, our ancestors were great warriors, but their conquests brought our species no lasting happiness. Each victory led only to the next battle, and the next world to subjugate. While in recent generations as farmers and thinkers we have known peace, built families, created art and philosophy. Gracchus growled low in his throat. You speak of weakness, Thorax. I speak of choice, War Master. Our ancestors had only their instincts to guide them. We have something they lacked, perspective. The tension in the chamber was palpable as Gracchus considered his subordinates' words. Finally, the massive warrior's shoulders slumped slightly. The war fleet will stand down, he announced. For now. The Vreks will consider this commission proposal. As relieved murmurs spread through the chamber, I found myself stunned into silence. What had just happened defied everything I thought I knew about species psychology. Surprised? Admiral Morgan asked beside me. That should not have been possible, I admitted. The Vreks' psychological profile indicated 98% certainty they would return to aggressive expansion once their true history was revealed. Your models didn't account for something important, Morgan said. The Vreks have lived their manipulated history. It's as real to them as their true heritage. They are not choosing between truth and lies anymore, they are choosing between different versions of themselves. As the proceedings continued, I watched with growing fascination as species after species confronted their newly revealed pasts. Some, like the Vreks, chose to acknowledge their heritage without reenacting its worst aspects. Others embraced elements of both their actual history and the Concordance version. A few rejected their violent pasts entirely, declaring that peace had become their true nature regardless of how it began. It wasn't universal, of course. 3 minor species did indeed return to historical patterns of aggression. But the widespread chaos I had predicted, the galactic war that should have been inevitable, simply didn't materialize. During a recess, Dr. Bennett approached me with an unexpected proposition. The Reconciliation Committee has a proposal for you, Vox Trillium, he said. Your knowledge of galactic history, both true and manipulated, is unparalleled. We would like you to serve as a consultant to the Truth Commission. I stared at him in disbelief. You want me to help undo my own work? We want you to help species understand the complex relationship between their past and their future. No one is better qualified. And in return, your sentence would be commuted to community service rather than imprisonment. You and your team would work under supervision, of course. I considered the offer. The irony was almost too perfect. The galaxy's greatest historical manipulator transformed into an agent of historical truth. Why would you trust me with this? I asked. Bennett's expression was serious. Because we believe people can change, Vox. Even you. Especially when confronted with evidence that their fundamental assumptions were wrong. As he walked away, Daxandra approached, her exoskeleton gleaming in the chamber's light. Will you accept? She asked. I gazed out at the assembled species' former enemies finding common ground, ancient rivals confronting shared pasts, all engaged in the messy, imperfect process of reconciliation. You know, I said slowly, in 6,000 years of adjusting history, I never once considered that simply telling the truth might be a viable alternative. So that's a yes? I sighed dramatically. I suppose someone needs to ensure these humans don't make a complete mess of galactic affairs. Their optimism is charming but dangerously naive. Daxandra's mandibles clicked in what I recognized as her version of laughter. Of course, sir. Their naivety is the only reason you are considering this. Nothing to do with the possibility that they might actually be right. Don't push your luck, I grumbled, but without real anger. As the committee reconvened and the Galactic Historical Truth Commission was formally established, I found myself reflecting on the strange turn of events. The humans hadn't just defeated our plot, they'd fundamentally challenged the philosophy behind it. And in doing so, they'd revealed a truth I'd spent millennia avoiding, that history isn't something to be controlled, but something to be confronted, accepted, and learned from. It was a humbling realization for someone who had spent his career rewriting the past. But perhaps, just perhaps, there was something liberating in finally facing the truth, not just for the species we'd manipulated, but for me as well. After all, if history has taught us anything, it's that the future remains unwritten, even for a disgraced historical adjustment officer from a collapsed galactic power, especially for him.